So it's snowing outside, and well, I'm homeless, so it can snow even more as the days go by, and it's only gonna get worse for me because I have to get up really early, and I have to leave really early, so it's gonna be really tough for me these next few days or weeks. So it's cold. I mean, it's snowing. I mean, it snowed in the night, and it's colder now. So, and I'm homeless. So, it's only gonna get colder as the days or weeks go by. So, I hope I survive. Hey, I can make a song about that. So, it was snowing. It was snowing. Wow. Everyone in the USA was sleeping, and right now it's like 30 degrees, and and there's snow on the ground. Look, there's snow. Yeah, so at 30 degrees, I'm cold, and it's gonna be even colder in the next few days or even weeks. It's gonna be worse, even worse for me because I'm homeless, and I have to leave from my homeless shelter really early, so it's gonna be really cold for me these coming weeks.
Telling them that we now have a new radar that can lead the bombers, fly in front, lead the bombers, navigate to the targets, see the targets through the cloud cover, and drop the first bombs and mark our flares. This invention, the Resident Academy Magnetron, was really, hands down, to me, the most important invention, the most influential invention in getting us to D-Day. Now, the atomic bomb certainly was an earth-shaking invention, but it didn't win the war. It just ended it abruptly. And in so doing, saved thousands, countless Allied lives, had they been forced to land troops on mainland Japan. Now, radar, I'll give you a scope in what that looked like on the scope. This is, we can talk, anyone that wants to talk about how the Resident Academy Magnetron actually works, we can do that after, but I'm not going to go into that now. This B-17 is one of the radar-equipped planes. So the way you can tell is they removed the belly turret, the gun turret from the belly, and that's where they put the rotating antenna, right in that pod under the belly. And the radar operator, navigator sat over the wing on the starboard side. This is an image, radar image, taken from one of those scopes that the operator was looking at. It shows round range rings that tells each one is maybe 5 miles or 10 miles, I'm not sure which. But that's the coast of Normandy and Cherbourg to the west and Le Havre to the east. And the water is black, and the land signals from the land tend to be white, gray. And that's what it looked like. That rotating antenna transmits narrow pulses of radio waves. This is how it works. Bang. bang, and then as it rotates, bang, bang. Now, if this pulse, if there's something that the radio wave bounces off, comes back to the antenna, and the antenna registers that as an image on the scope. They've been all the radar scientists around the world have been wanting to increase the frequency of the radar. I'm going into this now, but there's not much in the book about this. The book is a narrative of what people did and how they did it. But the old radar could not distinguish small objects, could not distinguish, as I said, even a U-boat in the vastness of the ocean. But when they tried to increase the frequency of this radar, they were stuck at 20 watts. They couldn't transmit any more than 20 watts of power. The resonant cavity magnetron transmitted 30,000 watts of power. That's like looking at a 20-watt bulb compared to 3 carbon arc searchlights. That's the kind of power it was now able to generate at distances. But in the late 30s, 1939, the Brits were already at war. They were under the gun. Hitler was planning to invade Britain. They were massing troops in northern occupied France. And so the British sent a mission to the United States to show our military leaders and our scientists what they had, what they'd been working on all through the 1930s as they watched the Nazis build up their military with alarm. Sir Henry Tizard, one of their top scientists, led the mission. They showed us new jet propulsion techniques. They showed us Loran, they invented Loran. And they showed us the resonant cavity magnetron, among other things. But when our radar scientists saw that magnetron and tested it that very weekend at Bell Labs and proved that it did actually transmit that kind of power, they set up, established a laboratory at MIT in Cambridge, Mass, called the Radiation Lab. They staffed it with the cream of America's. So what did microwave radar actually accomplish? It conquered the 2 primary obstacles to D-Day. First was the U-boats. Nazi U-boats were wreaking havoc on shipping to Britain. That island nation needed open sea lanes to survive. They were at war, they were short of everything for their survival, and many US and European leaders, political leaders, military leaders, felt sure that Britain was going to be lost. And Karl Dönitz was the commander of the U-boat fleet. He boasted that he could win the war with the U-boats alone. His goal was to sink 700,000 tons of shipping every month. That was more shipping than the Allies could replace. And after 6 months, in 1942 alone, his U-boat sank 585 ships, 3 million gross tons, an average of 2 ships every day. And at the time, there were probably no more than 35 U-boats working in service. And they were sinking that kind of shipping, often in months where they didn't lose a single U-boat. But the scientists designed a new radar, ASV, anti-surface vessel radar, and they installed them in the British coastal command planes. That's like our Coast Guard. And these new radars, small enough to be put in a plane, unknown to anybody, the enemy certainly, could even see a U-boat periscope sticking out of the water. U-boats were powered by batteries when they were submerged, and the U-boat had to come up to the surface to recharge those batteries with their diesel engines, and they waited till night under the cover of darkness. They would surface, recharging their batteries, and all of a sudden they'd be illuminated from above, and the bombs and the depth charges would fall. Dönitz wondered if the Allies might have some kind of new radar that they knew nothing about. And he went to a scientist, and they told him radar could not possibly do that. So this microwave radar eventually pushed the U-boats from the shipping lanes, and Britain survived the Battle of the Atlantic. Had they not been conquered, where would we have put all those hundreds of thousands of men that were to soon invade, and all their ammunition and their equipment and the tanks and the trucks? There was no other country in the area, in Europe, certainly in Europe, from which to stage all this equipment and manpower. Second obstacle was the weather. So we talked about it earlier. Planned D-Day 6 months before. Requisites to D-Day had not been accomplished. They were flying no more than 7 days a month, being called back the rest of the time. By the time they got back, everything they damaged was fixed to some degree. And they couldn't see the targets. They couldn't bomb them. They needed to get into the air every day, relentlessly, despite the weather. So beginning in January 1944, the 8th Air Force totally revamped all their bombing protocols. They put the radar-equipped plane in front. On January 1, this was the beginning of January, at that time there were 10 radar-equipped bombers, B-17s, in Europe, in England. They put those in front of the formations, and they led the way, and they dropped the first bombs and marker flares, and all the rest of the planes, hundreds behind them, simply dropped on those flares. The plan was fraught with startup problems. There's formations of B-17s over Hamburg. Totally overcast, can't see the ground, yet bubbling through the cloud cover are smoke and flames from the oil refineries in Hamburg. And we're getting the job done. But it was fraught with startup problems, equipment failures. The whole plan was fiercely resisted by all the airmen that had been through some of these missions earlier in 43, 42. That was still there. The radar bombing required a longer, straighter bombing run, and that put all the planes in the formations at greater peril from ground fire.